Hello student. Today topic of discussion is abnormalities of puparium. The objective of puparium is to enumerate the various puparial abnormalities and to define puparial fever and puparial sepsis and enumerate the causes of puparial fever and enlist the aseptic and antiseptic measure to be adopted for the prevention of puparial sepsis and manage the various abnormalities. So, the puparial abnormalities are puparial pyrexia, puparial sepsis, subinvolution, urinary complication, breast complication, puparial venous thrombosis, and psychiatric disorder. And come to the puparial pyrexia. What is puparial pyrexia? A rise of temperature reaching 100.4 degree Fahrenheit or more measured orally on two separate occasions at 24 hours apart, excluding first 24 hours within first day following delivery, is called puparial pyrexia. Causes of puparial pyrexia are puparial sepsis, urinary tract infection, mastitis, breast abscess, wound infection of cesarean section and episiotomy, pulmonary infection, atelectasis and pneumonia, and septic pelvic thrombophlebitis. And what is puparial sepsis? It is the infection of genital tract at any time between delivery of fetus till 40 days after delivery is called puparial sepsis. Incidence is declined nowadays due to improved obstetric care and availability of wider range of antibiotic. The causes of puparial sepsis are endometritis, that is inflammation of the endometrium, endomyometritis, that is inflammation of the myometrium, and endoparametritis, and combination of all these is called pelvic cellulitis. Infection is most often a mixed one with the several kinds of bacteria. It may be either endogenous or exogenous and aerobic. Streptococcus hemolytic group A and Streptococcus hemolytic group B, and other E. coli, that is Streptococcus cocci and Klebsiella proteus and Staphylococci, and anaerobic, that is Peptococci, Peptostreptococci, bacteroids and Clostridium, and Chlamydia, Mycoplasma and Gardnerella have also been implicated. These organisms remain dormant and are harmless during normal delivery if it is conducted in aseptic condition, and endogenous bacteria become harmful after delivery when organisms that are usually present in the vagina become pathogenic in presence of tissue injury, and they are introduced into the uterus by examining finger or during manipulation like internal podalic version and manual removal of placenta. Tissue are bruised, lacerated or dead after a traumatic delivery or following obstructed labor. There is a prolonged rupture of membrane, and exogenous bacteria can be introduced into the vagina by the unclean hands, unsterile instruments, and by the foreign substance introduced into vagina when ripening of the cervix is given, as oils, herbs and clothes are also introduced in the management of PPH or by the sexual activity. And come to the risk factor for puparial sepsis, that is anemia, malnutrition, diabetes mellitus, prolonged labor, obstructed labor, and prolonged rupture of membrane if it is more than 18 hours, and frequent vaginal examination. It should only be repeated at 4-hour interval, and operative delivery, cesarean section, forceps delivery etc., and repaired cervical and vaginal laceration. So what is pathology of puparial sepsis? Puparial sepsis is basically a wound infection. The primary site of infection are perineum, vagina, cervix and the uterus. In perineum, there is a laceration of the perineum are liable to be infected The wound edge become red and swollen, and the vaginal laceration are infected directly or by the extension from perineal infection. Mucosa is swollen and hyperemic, result in necrosis and sloughing. And cervix. Cervical laceration becomes the seats of infection. And uterus. Uterine infection, that is called endometritis. There is a placental site is a seat of infection. With chorioamnionitis, the infection continues from the intranatal to postnatal period. Symptom of infection continue after delivery also. In other cases, the symptom appear 3 to 6 days after delivery. It is common after cesarean delivery. In mild cases, there is a fever with proportional tachycardia. Uterus is soft and tender, and shrub involution of uterus is often present. Lochia is offensive and copious. In severe cases with infection, beta hemolytic streptococci, there is a fever with chills and rigor, severe tachycardia out of proportion to temperature, and there may be no local sign, no foul smelling lochia or shrub involution. Wound infection may also be present, such in the perineum, vagina, cervix, or abdominal wound. At wound site, C has pain, swelling, and discharge. A spreading infection to the distant organ as parametritis or pelvic cellulitis is due to a spread of infection to the pelvic cellular tissue by direct or by the lymphatic or by the hematogenous route. And pelvic peritonitis. Following pelvic peritonitis, infection causes exudation or localized pelvic abscess. And generalized peritonitis, there is a high fever with the rapid pulse, and patient present with bowel distension and paralytic ileus. Thrombophlebitis. What happened here? Infection involved the ovarian vein, uterine vein, pelvic vein, and rarely the inferior vena cava. The infected thrombus may undergo either complete resolution or suppuration. The emboli may occlude the microcirculation of the vital organ like lung, kidney, and the septicemia. It may present with high fever with rigor, and there is a positive blood culture and may cause lung abscess and meningitis, pericarditis, endocarditis, and causes multi-organ failure. Death occur in about 30% of cases. And investigation. Principle of the investigations are to locate the site of infection, to identify the organism, to assess the severity of the disease. A case of puerperal pyrexia is considered to be due to genital sepsis unless proved otherwise. So, investigation go through history and clinical examination. History should be taken as antenatal, intranatal, and postnatal history of any high risk factor for infection like anemia, prolonged rupture of membrane, prolonged labor are to be taken. And clinical examination, thorough general, physical, and systemic examination should be done. Abdominal and pelvic examination are done to note the involution of genital organ and locate the septic foci if present. Leg should be examined for the thrombophlebitis or thrombosis. High vaginal endocervical swab for culture in aerobic and anaerobic media and sensitivity test has to be done. And in urine is sent for the culture and sensitivity. And blood examination, total count and differential count and hemoglobin estimation are to be done. A low platelet count may indicate septicemia or DIC. Blood culture is done if fever is associated with rigor. Thick blood film should be examined for malarial parasite. And pelvic ultrasound is helpful in many ways. It detects any retained bits of conceptus within the uterus and to locate any abscess within the pelvis and to collect sample pus or fluid for culture and sensitivity. Color Doppler study to detect venous thrombosis. CT and MRI. If any doubt or there is a pelvic vein thrombosis, it should be done. And come to the prophylaxis. Puerperal sepsis is a preventable if certain measures are to be taken in antenatal period. Improvement of the nutritional status as raises the hemoglobin level and eradication of any septic focus like skin, throat and tonsil in the body. And intranatal full surgical asepsis during labor has to be done and prophylactic antibiotic is to be given. Postnatal aseptic precaution at least 1 week following delivery should start. Intranatal full surgical asepsis during labor has to be taken and prophylactic antibiotic has to give. And postnatal aseptic precaution at least 1 week following delivery and too many visitors are to be restricted. Sterilized sanitary pad are to be given. Infected baby and mother should be in isolated room. Treatment. Isolation of the patient when hemolytic streptococcus is obtained in culture and adequate fluid and calorie through IV has been given. Anemia is corrected by oral route. If needed, blood transfusion may be given. Indwelling catheter to relieve any urine retention due to pelvic abscess. A chart has to be maintained by recording the pulse, respiration, temperature, and local discharge and fluid intake or output. And come to the antibiotic. Ideally, antibiotic regimen should be given on culture and sensitivity test, but if report is pending, meanwhile gentamicin 2 mg per kg body weight IV loading dose is given, followed by 1.5 mg per kg every 8 hourly is given. Ampicillin is given as 1 gram IV every 6 hourly and clindamycin 900 mg IV every 8 hourly and cefotaxime and ceftriaxone 1 gram 8 hourly IV as an alternative, and metronidazole 0.5 gram IV 8 hourly. Antibiotic should be continued at least 7 to 8 days. And come to the surgical treatment. If perineal wound infected, then stitches of the perineal wound may have to be removed to facilitate drainage of pus and relieve pain. Wound has to be cleaned with the seize bath several times per day and dressed with antiseptic ointment or powder. After the infection is controlled, secondary suture may be given on later date. Retained uterine product with the diameter of 3 cm or less may be disregarded or left alone. Otherwise, surgical evacuation after antibiotic coverage for 24 hours should be done to avoid risk of septicemia. And septic thrombophlebitis. IV heparin is given for 7 to 10 days. And what about the pelvic abscess? Drainage by the colpotomy under the ultrasound guidance. And if there is wound dehiscence of episiotomy or abdominal wound following cesarean section, there is a scrubbing of the wound twice daily and debridement of all necrotic tissue and closing the wound with secondary suture. Laparotomy has got limited indication. IV fluid and antibiotic usually control the peritonitis. When the peritonitis is unresponsive to antibiotic, laparotomy is indicated, and hysterectomy is indicated in case of uterine rupture or perforation, multiple abscess or gangrenous uterus, ruptured tubo-ovarian abscess if present. Necrotizing fasciitis, wound scrubbing and debridement of all necrotic tissue and use of antimicrobial agent, and management of shock. Fluid and electrolyte balance is to be done by monitoring by the CBP and respiratory support to maintain PO2 and PCO2, and circulatory support by dopamine and dobutamine, and infection is controlled by the antibiotic therapy and surgical involvement. And come to the subinvolution. So question arises here, what is subinvolution? When the involution is impaired or retarded, it is called subinvolution. The uterus is the most common organ to subinvolute. Causes of subinvolution are, there are predisposing factor and aggravating factor. Predisposing factor are grand multipara and over distension of the uterus, maternal ill health and cesarean section, and prolapse of the uterus and retroversion, uterine fibroid, and aggregating factor are retained product of conception and uterine sepsis, that is endometritis. Symptoms. Symptoms are, it may be asymptomatic, or sometimes there are abnormal local discharge which could be either excessive or prolonged and irregular at time. Excessive uterine bleeding may occur sometime. Irregular cramp like pain because of retained beats of conception, and rise of temperature in case of sepsis. Signs are, there is a fundal height greater than the postnatal day and displaced bladder or loaded rectum. Because of involution, uterus feel boggy and soft. Management. Appropriate therapy is to be instituted only when subinvolution is found to be a mere sign of some local pathology. Antibiotic is given in case of infection. Exploration of the uterus is done for retained product of conception, and pessary is applied in prolapse or retroversion of the uterus, or methergine is given to enhance involution process. And come to the urinary tract infection, which is also a cause of puerperal pyrexia. It is most common causes of puerperal pyrexia. Incidence is 1 to 5%, maybe because of consequence or recurrence of previous cystitis or pyelitis or asymptomatic bacteria. First time because of the frequent catheterization and stasis of urine. Organisms responsible for urinary tract infection are Escherichia coli, Klebsiella, Proteus, and Staphylococcus aureus. And come to the breast complication. The most common breast complication in puerperium are breast engorgement, cracked and retracted nipple, mastitis and breast abscess, and lactation failure. And come to the breast engorgement. Causes of the breast engorgement are: it is due to exaggerated normal venous or lymphatic engorgement, and it is due to prevention of the escape of milk from the lacteal system. Symptoms are pain in the both breast and heaviness in the both breast, and there is malleage and rise in temperature and feeling of pain while breastfeeding. And prevention: avoid prelacteal feeding as honey and water, and to initiate breastfeeding as soon as placenta is expelled, and breastfeeding should start within 1 to 2 hours after placental expulsion. Unrestricted exclusive breastfeeding on demand and feeding in correct posture. Treatment: breast support is given either by the tight brazier or binders. Manual expression of remaining milk after each feed should be done, and in severe condition use breast pump if possible. And come to the cracked and retracted nipple. It occurs due to loss of surface epithelium or due to fissure situated at the tip or base of the nipple. These two conditions frequently coexist and are called cracked nipple. Causes are the crust over the nipple and due to incorrect attachment of the breast. Infection with the Candida albicans and Staphylococcus aureus is often present. Treatment: correct attachment with the provide immediate relief from pain and rapid healing. Fresh human milk and saliva have got healing properties. Inflamed nipple and areola may be due to thrush also. Miconazole lotion applied over the nipple as well as in the baby's mouth if there is fungal infection as in thrush. Mastitis. Incidence of mastitis is 2 to 5% in lactating mother, less than 1% in non-lactating mother. Organisms involved are Streptococcus aureus, Staphylococcus epidermidis, and Streptococcus viridans. Risk factors are poor nursing, maternal fatigue, and cracked nipple. Mode of infection of mastitis are: there are two different types of mastitis based on the location of infection. And first, infection that involved the breast parenchymal tissue leading to cellulitis, that is lacteal system remains unaffected. And second one, infection up to the lactiferous duct lead to development of primary mammary adenitis. Source of infection are infant's nose and mouth, and non-infected mastitis is due to milk stasis. Feeding from affected breast can solve the problem. Clinical feature of mastitis are symptom: There is generalized malaise, fever with chills, severe pain and tender swelling, mass, shine, presence of toxic feature, presence of swelling over breast and redness of overlying skin, warm and fleshy skin. Due to variable destruction of breast tissue, it is lead to formation of breast abscess. Management is done by support of the breast by the binders or braziers. Plenty of oral fluid is given to mother. Good attachment of the baby when feeding. Initiate feeding from uninfected breast first to establish let down. The infected side is emptied manually with each feed. Dicloxacin is the drug of choice, given as 500 mg 6 hourly, and erythromycin is an alternative. Antibiotic therapy is should be continued up to 7 days. The ingested staphylococcus will digest without any harm. If abscess is formed, it is to be drained under the general anesthesia. And come to the pelvic thrombophlebitis. It originates in the thrombosed vein at the placental site by the organisms such as anaerobic streptococci or bacteroids. When it is localized in the pelvis, called pelvic thrombophlebitis, there is a specific feature, but it is suspected when there is a constant fever instead of antibiotic administration. Management of the thrombophlebitis are prevention of the trauma, sepsis, anemia in pregnancy and labor, use of elastic compression, stocking during pregnancy, and leg exercise. Early ambulation are encouraged following delivery. In high risk women, need of low molecular weight of heparin. And now we look for psychiatric disorder during puerperium, that is puerperal blues. It is a transient state of mental illness observed 4 to 5 days after delivery, lasts for few days. Incidence is 50%. And come to the postpartum depression. It is gradual in onset over the first to 4 to 6 months following delivery and abortion. It is because of change in hypothalamo-pituitary adrenal axis may be the cause. And postpartum psychosis. It is commonly seen in women with past history and family history, and onset is relatively sudden and lasts for 4 days. थैंक यू. देखो तो हम कैसा हुआ फिर.